Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network novel. Pok É Mon. The only male in Joey's family, Qiao Yihang, traveled through the world of Pok É Mon and became the only male baby in the Joey family. Get gold finger at the beginning. Divine level collection technique, which can collect race values, characteristics, skills, etc. from dying or seriously injured Pok É Mon. So, after working as a nurse at the elf center in the town for a few years, Qiao Yihang felt invincible. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. 001 The only male in the Joey family. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In the Kanto region, Ziyuan town, within the elf center. Young girls came together. The girl with orange hair twisted the hedgehog head boy's ear, rolled her eyes, and said, "Xiao Gang. Don't be so embarrassing, okay?" The hedgehog-headed boy with his ears twisted doesn't care about the pain at all, just his eyes are lifeless and his mouth keeps muttering incomprehensible words like, why isn't it Miss Joey? The other boy with a yellow electric mouse looked curiously at the boy in a white coat in front of him. Of course, when it comes to curiosity, the curiosity in the young man's eyes is more due to the magical treasure next to him that he has never seen before. That is a magical treasure that is all silver white, as if wrapped in metal. After hesitating for a while, the young man still spoke up and asked, "That? Mr. Joey, is that Pok É Mon?" The girl with orange hair seemed to have handled the hedgehog-headed boy well at this moment, and then walked over with great enthusiasm. She was very dissatisfied and said, "Xiao Ji. Don't be so impolite, Mr. Joey, he still needs to treat the Pok É Mon." Later, the girl with orange hair turned around and apologized to the young man in a white coat, "I'm sorry, Mr. Joey. My companions didn't mean it, they were just a little surprised. I'm sorry for causing you trouble." Looking at the apologizing girl, the young man in a white coat had a smile in his eyes and said nonchalantly, "It's okay. I'll treat your elves first. Oh, by the way, if you need to rest, please book a room as soon as possible. There aren't many rooms in the elf center anymore." "Oh, thank you for Mr. Joey's reminder. We'll make a reservation now." After speaking, the girl with orange hair ran towards the machine for booking the room. "Hello, Xiaoxia, wait for me." The boy who was called Xiaoji by the girl, although still curious about the magical treasure he had never seen before, was not an ignorant person. He no longer disturbed the white-clad boy and ran over with Xiaoxia. The yellow-skinned electric mouse, later known as the Pi Shen, blinked at the young man in a white coat before turning around and following his master. Watching the trio at a familiar Pikachu, the young man in a white coat sighed leisurely and muttered to himself, "I didn't expect to encounter the intellectually disabled trio here, and Xiaoxia is still in the team. Does that mean it's still the first-generation plot now?" Holding two Pok É Mon balls handed over by Xiao Ji, the young man in a white coat walked leisurely into the Pok É Mon medical room. The magical treasure, Kula Kula, wrapped in silver-white metal behind the boy hummed and followed his footsteps. In the Pok É Mon medical room, the boy skillfully uses a series of instruments to restore the energy of the elves inside the Pok É Mon ball. If it weren't for those familiar with him, they probably wouldn't have known that the young man had only received temporary training 3 days ago and then started working. As for why he is so proficient, it may be because his name contains the words Joey. Joey Hang is the current name of the young man. He used to have a name called Qiao Yihang, but since his travels, he has never had the chance to use that name again. Yes, the young man in a white coat, also known as Qiao Yihang, is a traveler. In his past life, he was an ordinary freshman student in China. One day, after waking up from sleep, he unexpectedly discovered that he had become a baby. At the moment Qiao Yihang opened his eyes, he was actually confused because in front of him, there were all women who looked similar. As the ashes of Pok É Mon, Qiao Yihang can easily recognize it at a glance. The group of women surrounding him is the Miss Joey that almost exists in any city in any region of the Pok É Mon animation. Perhaps due to genetic reasons or blood ties, Qiao Yihang was able to clearly distinguish all Miss Joey at the moment of regaining consciousness. Later on, Qiao Yihang became the treasure of the Joey family, who had never given birth to a male baby before. Miss Joey, who can be called, knows that a relative has given birth to a boy, and anyone who has time will come and see the news. After a while, Qiao Yihang suddenly recognized all the Miss Joey in the Guandu region, Chengdu region, Shanao region, Fangyuan region, etc. during his childhood. Well, a few days ago, he was planning to leave home for a trip when his cousin from Ziyuan town sent a message asking him to come and help take care of the elf center for a few days. That cousin has been arranged a blind date by her family, so she can't go back. With the idea of helping relatives as much as possible, Qiao Yihang spent a day temporarily learning the basic operation of the equipment, and then spent another day rushing to Ziyuan town. He only arrived last night. Unexpectedly, as soon as the elf center opened early this morning, I saw the group of 3 members of Xiaoji. Throughout his travels, Qiao Yihang remains curious about the protagonist of Pok É Mon, Xiaoji. One reason is that I have seen Xiaoji grow up from a young age and have a desire to see real people. Another type is that Xiaoji's journey is related to the development of the plot, knowing his current progress is beneficial for planning for the future. Qiao Yihang stared straight at Xiaoji's 2 Pok É Mon balls, his gaze deep. He is a bit conflicted now. In fact, at the moment he saw the trio of Xiaoji, his original plan to travel to the Guandu region suddenly underwent an irreversible change. The Xiaoji trio is still in the Kanto region, so why don't I travel to other regions before the subsequent plot begins? 002 challenged Qiao Yihang's little wisdom. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. This is not that Qiao Yihang hates Xiaoji. It is precisely because in the Pok É Mon anime series, Xiaoji is a protagonist born with a divine beast aura. From the initial Phoenix King Loki Ashuidu to the later Cavalry Emperor Arceus. Almost all the famous mythical beasts in the Pok É Mon world have an affair with Ash. As a traveler, Qiao Yihang certainly doesn't want to serve as a background for Xiaoji. Kedora, do you also think so? Qiao Yihang touched the magical treasure wrapped in silver white metal next to him, feeling the coldness in his hand, and muttered to himself. Kedora looked at her master in confusion. Although I don't know what the owner is saying, just respond warmly. Quao la. Quao la. You guy. Qiao Yihang smiled bitterly and patted Kedora's head. This Kedora was given to him by his mother when he was 10 years old. At that time, Kedora or Kekedora. This guy has a lively personality, but he often gets confused, and even after evolution, this hasn't changed at all. As a huge family that monopolizes the medical industry, the Joey family mostly prepares magical treasures with therapeutic abilities for their people, such as Lucky Egg, Happy Egg, Almost Doll, Fat Ketting, and Flower Therapy Ring. Qiao Yihang is considered a special case. He has been very unique since he was young, enjoying fighting against elves and exploring nature. However, he is not very focused on the medical profession. In this situation, most of the elders of the Joey family did not force them to change Qiao Yihang's hobbies. After all, the Joey family also has a powerful Miss Joey. They do not work as nurses in the elf center, but as Pok É Mon inspectors. They visit various Taoist temples and investigate the strength of the temple owners, giving evaluations of the level of Taoist temples. These powerful Miss Joey even have the power to block unqualified Taoist temples. Setting sail with Joe is an exception, and it's not a big deal in the Joey family either. In order to support Qiao Yihang's dream, his mother specially entrusted someone to bring back a Kodora from the Fangyuan area. After several years of getting along and adapting, Qiao Yihang and Kedora challenged many trainers. Recently, Kedora finally successfully evolved into Kedora. Qiao Yihang was causing a commotion with Kedora when the machine that was used to restore the elf strength rang out with a ding-dong sound. In the world of Pok É Mon, almost all technologies related to Pok É Mon are highly developed, and machines specifically designed to restore Pok É Mon stamina can be found in almost every town in Pok É Mon. Qiao Yihang skillfully took the Pok É Mon ball out of the machine. Alright, Kedora, let's go out. After helping Xiaoji recover his Pok É Mon stamina, Qiao Yihang beckoned Kedora out of the medical room. In the elf center, Xiaoji is on a call with Dr. Oki, while Xiaoxia is selecting food. The hedgehog-headed Xiaojiang still looked confused, as if he didn't understand why there was not Miss Joey in the elf center of Ziyuan town, but a Mr. Joey. Qiao Yihang had just walked out when Xiaoji hurriedly greeted Dr. Daimu and hung up the phone before running over. Hello, have you helped me restore the elf stamina? Xiaoji stood timidly in front of Qiao Yihang. It's strange to say that Miss Joey from several small towns didn't give people this feeling before, but Mr. Joey from Ziyuan town gave Xiaoji a strange feeling, as if he had seen through her hole. What exactly is Mr. Joey's background? Xiaoji pondered in his heart, but his eyes still kept glancing at the magical treasure next to Qiao Yihang that he had never seen before. Qiao Yihang didn't notice Xiaoji's timidity. He handed over 2 Pok É Mon balls and said with a smile, "Yes, it's already ready. Take it." Xiaoxia and Xiaojiang also walked over at this moment, and Xiaojiang was still in a state of decadence. Xiaoxia looked at Qiao Yihang with a slightly red face and couldn't help but feel excited. Mr. Joey is so handsome. Suddenly, as if he had figured something out, Xiaoji took an excited step forward and enthusiastically looked at Qiao Yihang, shouting loudly, "Mr. Joey, can I have a fight with you?" In the world of Pok É Mon, adding another trainer challenge to training is not a very impolite thing. Of course, if one of the parties is unwilling and still insists on fighting, it would be very impolite. Faced with Xiaoji's request, Qiao Yihang did not refuse. To be honest, Qiao Yihang and Xiaoji are essentially the same type of people who are passionate about subduing elves and engaging in elf battles. So when faced with Xiaoji, who was full of passion and came to challenge him, he readily agreed. Of course, let's do it. 1.1. I only have this Kedora in my hands. If he loses, there's no need to continue. 003 Pi Shen's 100,000 volts. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Pikachu, then let's go up. As expected by Qiao Yihang, upon hearing about the 1v1 battle, Xiaoji didn't even consider other Pok É Mon and directly dispatched Pikachu. Of course, battles are not allowed in the Pok É Mon Center, but fortunately, there are many battle venues in the Pok É Mon world, which can be seen almost everywhere. Even if there is no dedicated battlefield, you can still fight in any open space. There is an open space right next to the Elf Center in Ziyuan town. Qiao Yihang greeted Xiaoji, and the two stood on both sides of the open space. Xiaoxia stood on one side of the field and shouted loudly, "Mr. Qiao Yi from Ziyuan town is fighting against Xiaoji from Jinqin town. 1v1, the game is starting." Originally, Xiao Gang was supposed to serve as the referee. After all, this guy used to be the owner of the Nibi City Road Museum. However, Qiao Yihang's presence may have dealt a big blow to this guy. He has not recovered yet and still looks lethargic. Finally, Xiaoxia took the lead. After hearing Xiaoji's command, Pikachu rushed out quickly. Looking at his agile posture, Qiao Yihang nodded slightly. Although Xiaoji was a bit foolish, he did a good job of taking care of Pikachu. Then let's go to Kedora. Qiao Yihang's voice was full of confidence. Perhaps at this stage, his combination with Kedora is not a match for those powerful trainers, but these people will definitely not include Xiaoji. After all, he is a traveler. Have you ever seen a traveler who doesn't open a hook? The battle has officially begun. Xiaoji took the initiative and loudly commanded Pikachu from the side of the field. Pikachu uses a flash of lightning, let's attack first. Before the battle even started, Xiaoji took out his elf guidebook and prepared to take a look at the information of Kedora. Unfortunately, the Pok É Mon guidebook given to him by Dr. Daiki is not a national guidebook. Before he arrived in the Fangyuan region, there would definitely be no information about Kedora in his Pok É Mon guidebook. The information gap led Xiaoji to misjudge Pikachu's strength. With a flash of lightning, Pikachu, which was attacking at high speed, was bounced off at the moment it collided with Kedora. Kedora, who was hazy, shook her body in confusion, as if she didn't quite understand what the yellow-skinned mouse in front of her was doing. Watching Pikachu being knocked away, Xiaoji looked bewildered. The strong attack tactics that used to be very effective against the vast majority of elves unexpectedly failed this time. Among the three members of Xiaoji and Xiaoxia's understanding of Pok É Mon can only be considered superficial. Xiao Gang, who was still in a confused state, had a flash of brilliance in his eyes. He looked at the light flowing on the silver-white metal armor of Kodora and analyzed, Mr. Joey's Pok É Mon should have the attribute of steel. Normal attack effects are not very good. After hearing Xiao Jiang's analysis, Xiaoji, who had been somewhat discouraged due to the ineffective initial attack, immediately regained his composure and commanded Pikachu with renewed energy. If regular attacks don't work, look at my move. Pikachu uses 100,000 volts. Faced with Pikachu, who had a strong fighting spirit, and Xiaoji, who was full of passion, Qiao Yihang commanded in a calm tone, Kedora, get down to the ground. At this time, Xiaoji was too young to command Pok É Mon battles in the most primitive way. It's just being reckless and not flexible in thinking. Qiao Yihang agreed to his challenge more for the sake of the future Pi Shen. At the moment he saw Kedora diving underground, not only was Xiaoji foolish, but even Pikachu on the field was a bit confused. The ultimate move of the electric Pok É Mon is 100,000 volts, which is very powerful, but unfortunately, the Earth is completely immune to the electric Pok É Mon. At the moment Xiaoji's command was given, Pikachu leaped high and prepared to use 100,000 volts. The speed of the electrical skill's ultimate move is very fast, but at the moment when 100,000 volts are about to fall, Kedora is still drilling the underground hole calmly. Xiaoji stood on the sidelines, clenching his fists in excitement and praying incessantly, hit me, hit me. At this moment, Xiao Jiang had regained some rationality. With his eyes squinted, he gazed at Qiao Yihang on the other side with a calm expression, and his heart murmured, why is Mr. Joey so calm? Kedora, throw the stone next to you into your sky. Undoubtedly digging a hole, Kedora, upon hearing Qiao Yihang's command, threw the huge stone next to him into the sky with an unimaginable speed and a beautiful header. 100,000 volts flickering with dazzling light struck the huge rock, and the stones shattered in response. The small stones that flew down splashed all over the ground. Xiaoji's Pikachu is truly a god of skin, with a power of 100,000 volts that is beyond imagination. Even after crushing huge stones, he still maintains his momentum and hits the ground. At this point, Kedora had already disappeared from the ground. After the huge thunder landed, it only shattered loneliness. About this book and related updates. You are listening at novelfull.audio. New book release, Pok É Mon new book, Pok É Mon worldview, with some writer's own settings. The protagonist does not follow the path of a trio of Xiaoji and acts alone. Because it has its own settings, readers should not complain when they see some settings that are not in line with the original Pok É Mon. Just use the settings as a writer. Well, this book will definitely be on the shelves, but updates are guaranteed to only last 3 shifts per day because writers also have their own jobs. Try to write more every day, but the writer cannot guarantee that there will be too many updates. Finally, let's learn from our predecessors and make some adjustments. Because the writer himself is not a big shot, the conditions are not set too high. Add 1 chapter to 1,000 flowers per day. 500 review tickets per day plus 1 chapter for updates. 30 comments per day, no duplicate IDs, add 1 more chapter. Give 2 tips a day and add 1 more chapter. Other writers won't ask much, just watch and give it to everyone. If you like it, please leave a comment in the comments section to support the writer. 004 Defeated Pikachu. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Pikachu, who leaped high, landed lightly on the ground. Compared to his nimble movements, Pikachu's expression was quite flustered. Pick up. Pick up. On the battlefield, Pikachu nervously looked around in search of the location of Kodora. Xiao Ji on the sidelines also looked nervous. Pikachu is an electric magical treasure, hit by ground skills, and his fragile body is likely to be instantly killed by a single blow. Perhaps under excessive tension, Xiao Ji's combat potential was stimulated. When Pikachu was at a loss, he shouted to him, "Pikachu, use your shadow clone." Facing the underground Kedora, using shadow clones is indeed a good technique, at least it can confuse Qiao Yihang and Kedora. Watching the battle from the side, Xiao Gang nodded and praised, Xiao Ji did a good job with this move. After using the shadow clone, Kodora cannot achieve a one-hit kill. After Kodora attacks the wrong target, Pikachu can quickly use his ultimate move to determine the winner. Xiao Ji's expression on the sidelines relaxed a lot, and it seemed that he had quite confidence in his move. Qiao Yihang also nodded slightly, acknowledging Xiao Ji's combat talent. However, relying solely on such small tricks cannot withstand absolute strength crushing. As a Pok É Mon who cheats, Kedora's strength cannot be so weak. Kedora, after drilling out of the ground, used the mountain collapse and ground fissure technique to smash down all the rocks in the sky. With Qiao Yihang's command, Kedora suddenly emerged from the ground, splashing large pieces of rock. At the same time, over the battlefield, blocks of rocks with blue light were inconspicuously mixed in the splashing rock fragments, accompanied by the violent impact of gravity. Pikachu's shadow clone, unable to hold on for even a second under the attack of mountain collapses and ground fissures, was instantly destroyed. Pikachu's body, unable to dodge, was hit hard by a huge rock and bounced twice on the ground. Pikachu. Pikachu, what's wrong with you? Can you still stand up? Xiao Ji, standing on the sidelines, anxiously shouted as he saw Pikachu's pitiful expression. Pikachu. On the field, hearing the owners shout, Pikachu tried hard to stand up. A very inspiring scene. Qiao Yihang calmly looked at Pikachu, who was on the verge of collapse, without speaking. If other Pok É Mon were to use the mountain collapse and ground rift, Qiao Yihang might think that Pikachu still has a way to survive, but it was his partner who used this move, a specially enhanced Kedora. When Qiao Yihang saw Pikachu being hit by huge rock fragments, he knew that the battle had ended. After all, his partner Kedora, in terms of output ability, can even rival those famous quasi-gods for their attack power. However, Qiao Yihang has always been a cautious person, and he will never slack off easily if he has not completely defeated the enemy. So, he calmly commanded Kodora and said, "All right, Kodora, use the alloy claws and give Pikachu a final blow." Kedora shook her body, cleared the dust from her metal armor, and then rushed towards Pikachu calmly. At the same time, several white lights appeared on his four sharp claws. This scene stunned Xiao Jiang, who was watching the battle. Alloy claws, only one claw will produce white light. What kind of ghost are these four claws showing white light? Is there a problem with Joey's Kodora? Xiao Gang had mixed feelings in his heart. What kind of devil training did Mr. Joey give this Kedora? Pikachu. Stand up and avoid his alloy claw attack. At this time, it is obvious that Xiao Ji on the sidelines cannot command calmly. After Pikachu was seriously injured, he lost his sanity. Let the seriously injured Pikachu dodge the almost full state of Kedora's attack, isn't this just a pipe dream? Qiao Yihang believes that there is indeed a residual blood counterattack, but it will definitely not be something that current Xiao Ji and Pikachu can achieve. Pikachu. The weak Pikachu exerted all his strength to avoid Kedora's attack, but how could his speed be faster than Kedora's? With just a face-to-face effort, Pikachu was knocked out. This is still a humanized way for Kedora to cancel the attack of the alloy claw at the moment of hitting Pikachu, and only use her body to knock Pikachu away. If you really want to be hit by the alloy claws, Pikachu is probably really cool now. In the world of Pok É Mon, Pok É Mon do not always die. After receiving powerful attacks, Pok É Mon also die. Pikachu, who was knocked off the ground, fell heavily. In this moment, Pikachu not only couldn't stand up, but also couldn't open his eyes. Xiaoji from the sidelines rushed up and hugged Pikachu, sobbing, "I'm sorry, Pikachu. It's my fault, I underestimated Mr. Joey's strength. I'm sorry." 005 detected a dying elf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qiao Yihang walked slowly to Kedora's side, squatted down, and rubbed his head. Kedora turned her head and looked at his owner in confusion, as if asking, what was going on with the yellow-skinned mouse across from him. He fell down before exerting any force. Ignoring the confused Kodora, Qiao Yihang stood up and asked Xiaoxia beside him, "Can we announce the result now?" Xiaoxia. I think Pikachu may need treatment. Qiao Yihang did not blame Kedora for making the final decision without authorization. After all, in many previous battles, Kodora had let go of her opponent's Pok É Mon at the last moment. In fact, nowadays Kedora, when fighting against ordinary opponents, there is no need to make a final blow. Xiaoji's Pikachu is worthy of the title of Pi Shen on his future head. Despite a strong attack from Kedora, he was able to stand up unsteadily, which is already quite difficult. Ah! Oh! Xiaoxia was also shocked by the speed at which the battle ended. Previously, Xiaoji also challenged several martial arts halls and obtained a badge. Speaking of Pikachu's weakness, Xiaoxia felt that after training all the way, Pikachu's strength should be quite strong, but this battle gave Xiaoxia an illusion. That is, the strength of Pikachu seems to be insignificant in front of Mr. Joy's Kedwalamian noodles. The battle is over. The winner is Mr. Joey from Ziyuan Town. After Xiaoxia announced the end of the battle, Qiao Yihang walked up to Xiaoji and looked at him sobbing. Qiao Yihang rubbed his forehead. Now Xiaoji is too weak to arouse interest in fighting. Alright, Xiaoji, give me Pikachu and I'll help him with his treatment. Thank you, Mr. Joey. Faced with Xiaoji's gratitude, Qiao Yihang just smiled and patted his shoulder, then took Pikachu from his arms and walked towards the medical room in the elf center with Kedora. Xiaoji and the three of them followed behind Qiao Yihang, communicating quietly. As the only girl in the team, Xiaoxia, who had just been traveling with Xiaoji for a short time, comforted and said, "Xiaoji, don't be sad anymore. Mr. Joey and his partner have the same strength and understanding as you and Pikachu. It's normal to lose. After all, she is a trainer from the Taoist school, and even if Xiaoxia's strength is poor, she still has some vision." The strength of Qiao Yihang and Kedora can be seen by discerning people after this battle, far surpassing that of Xiaoji and Pikachu. So it's only natural for Xiaoji to lose. Xiaoji, who was sobbing, was comforted by Xiaoxia, and her already uncomfortable mood became even more uncomfortable. So comforting, it feels so hurtful. However, Xiaoji did not refute it. At the moment Pikachu was knocked off by Kedora, he realized that this challenge was his recklessness. Pikachu's several attacks did not work, and with a flash of lightning, he couldn't even make Kedora take a step back. The 100,000 volts behind made me feel even more lonely. Moreover, the powerful mountain and ground fissures that followed Kodora were also terrifying. Xiaoji is not a fool either. Of course, he can see that something is wrong. How did a Kedora shatter the entire ground and produce so many large stones? They were so dense that even if Pikachu wanted to hide, he couldn't escape. As a legitimate Taoist museum owner, Xiaozhang's analysis is well-founded. He whispered to Xiaoxia and Xiaoji, "Mr. Joey's strength far exceeds that of Xiaoji. I'm afraid from the moment Xiaoji launched his attack, Mr. Joey had already planned everything that would happen in the future. Xiao Zhang's analysis surprised Xiaoxia and Xiaoji. They both thought that Kedora, a magical treasure, was very strong, but they didn't think Qiao Yihang was too powerful. Really, Xiao Zhang? Xiaoxia asked incredulously. Yes. Xiao Gang affirmed in his tone, Mr. Joey is too calm. From the beginning to the end of the battle, he has behaved too calmly. Apart from believing in Kodora's strength, he also has confidence in himself. Xiao Zhang's analysis is reasonable and well-founded. After carefully recalling it, Xiaoxia and Xiaoji found that the situation was really similar to what Xiao Zhang had analyzed. So, Mr. Joey actually played with Xiao Ji all the time. Xiaoxia once again revealed the fact that made Xiaoji's heart ache. I'm afraid it's like this. Xiao Gang casually repaired the knife. Xiao Ji's face turned pale throughout. I'll come back to challenge Mr. Joey after experiencing it. I won't be so impulsive anymore. Although the voices of the three of them were not loud, Qiao Yihang, who was walking in front of them, could still hear them clearly. A smile formed on his face, and Qiao Yihang was a bit amused. As a traveler, I have watched countless Pok É Mon battles, and how can the application of Pok É Mon skills be inferior to that of a novice kid? The most crucial thing is that he is a coward. Embracing Pikachu and listening to the familiar voice ringing in his ear, Qiao Yihang's smile grew even stronger. Ding, a dying Pok É Mon Pikachu has been detected. It can collect features such as Lightning Rod, 5/20 fragments, defense race value +1, and skill. 100,000 volts, 5/20 fragments. 006 Panic Trainers. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. This is Qiao Yihang's Golden Finger. Divine Level Collection Technique. As long as you touch a critically injured and dying Pok É Mon, you can collect the features, skills, race values, and more from this Pok É Mon. Previously, Qiao Yihang helped his mother at his own elf center and worked for a total of 4 years since obtaining Kodora. During this period, countless critically injured and dying elves were helped, and the characteristics, skills, and race values obtained through divine level collection techniques have also accumulated a lot. Why is Kedora so strong? It's not because Qiao Yihang gave him most of the collected race values, and there are also some skills that are very suitable for him. Qiao Yihang is not stingy either. If it weren't for the current Kedora not being able to have 2 features at the same time, Qiao Yihang would have been prepared to give him a divine level feature he accidentally acquired. Another defense race value. However, Qiao Yihang is still somewhat dissatisfied. I don't know if it's because his partner is Kedora. Most of the race values collected each time are defense race values, and a few times are attack race values. So far, the overall defense race value of Kedora has even exceeded that of the large evolutionary Bosco. On the other hand, Kedora's attack power has also been greatly improved, although not as terrifying as the defense value provided, it is definitely not a small number. That's also why before, the landslide of Kedora could instantly kill the full state of Pikachu. Collect all. Qiao Yihang silently recited in his heart. The few things Pikachu provided, apart from fragments of a skill of 100,000 volts, Qiao Yihang didn't really value the other 2. The characteristics of lightning rods are mostly limited to electrical Pok É Mon and do not have much use. As for Pikachu's defense race value, it is optional for the current Kedora. Ding dong, successfully collected. There hasn't been much change in Qiao Yihang's appearance. He has done too much of this kind of thing and doesn't feel much anymore. With ease, the defense race value was assigned to Kedora, and Qiao Yihang carried Pikachu into the medical room to treat him. Xiao Ji's trio is waiting outside. After being treated with medical equipment, Pikachu, who was already seriously injured and on the brink of death, regained his consciousness in just a while. Pai Ka. Pikachu, who opened his small eyes, looked at Qiao Yihang in confusion as if he didn't know what had happened. Qiao Yihang smiled and rubbed his head, saying, "It's okay, Pikachu. Don't fight blindly with your foolish master in the future. It's not advisable. Pickup truck. Pickup truck. Pikachu's confused little eyes stared at Qiao Yihang for a long time, as if he didn't quite understand his meaning. Qiao Yihang shrugged his shoulders and didn't say anything more. Instead, he picked up Pikachu and said, "Let's go out. Your master should be very worried about you." The relationship between Xiaoji and Pikachu cannot be questioned by anyone. When Qiao Yihang watched the animation, he once thought that the female lead was Pikachu. As for the girl appearing in the main storyline of the animation, is that the female lead? Don't joke, those are all green leaves. The true red flower, only Pikachu. Pickup trucks, carrying Pikachu out of the medical room, Xiaoji waited anxiously outside. When he saw Qiao Yihang carrying Pikachu out, he immediately ran over and said, "Pikachu, are you okay?" "That's great, I'm sorry." Pikachu is fine now." Qiao Yihang handed Pikachu to Xiaoji and comforted him, "Xiaoji, keep going and look forward to our future battles." Xiaoji is a hot-blooded maniac. He was originally hit by Xiaojiang and Xiaoxia and turned gray-white. After Qiao Yihang finished speaking, he was instantly revived with full blood. "Mr. Joey. I will definitely challenge you again and defeat you in the future." "Okay, I'll wait." Qiao Yihang just smiled at Xiaoji's enthusiasm. The world of Pok É Mon is so big, and the chances of meeting them in the future are very few. Even if they can fight again, Qiao Yihang is confident that he can crush Xiaoji again. Who makes him a cheater? Miss Joey. Is Miss Joey there? Just as Qiao Yihang and Xiaoji were saying these words, there was suddenly a commotion outside the elf center. Ziyuan town is not a small place, and many trainers in Guandu and Chengdu areas usually follow the route of Ziyuan town. After all, it is home to the famous Pok É Mon Tower and ghost legend. Quickly, a group of trainers rushed into the elf center. Joey. The first male trainer to rush in suddenly paused halfway through the conversation. Isn't Miss Joey here? How many of you?" The trainer who rushed in asked. "I wonder if you could tell me where Miss Joey went. Our Pok É Mon have all been injured and we really need Miss Joey's treatment now." Yes, a few people. "Can you tell us where Miss Joey has gone? We really need Miss Joey's help." Yes. A group of unknown black-clothed creatures came to the Pok É Mon Tower and wreaked havoc there. Our elves were injured while fighting against them. Unknown guy in black clothes. There was a hint of clarity in Qiao Yihang's eyes. It seemed that there was only one organization in the Guandu area who wore black uniforms and liked to cause trouble. Looking at a group of panicked trainers, Qiao Yihang walked forward with a gentle expression and said, "Everyone, my name is Qiao Yihang. I will temporarily replace Miss Joey from Ziyuan town to take care of this elf center. If you need to treat elves, you can come to me directly." 007, let's test our strength, Kedora. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A group of trainers suddenly fell silent. Taking care of Miss Joey's elf center man, judging by the name, it still seems to belong to Joey's family. Mr. Joey, I'm sorry, we've never seen a male Joey before. Do you have anything to prove that you're taking care of this elf center on your behalf?" Unlike the novice trio of Xiaoji, the group of trainers who have broken in now have traveled many places and have never seen a man in any elf center before. Qiao Yihang frowned slightly. Although there was a slight displeasure in his heart, he still presented a special certificate as a member of the Joey family, issued by the Pok É Mon League, out of support for the Joey family. With this proof, anyone from the Joey family can temporarily take over an elf center in an emergency situation. Seeing this proof, a group of trainers finally believed in Qiao Yihang's identity. "Mr. Joey, can you help me treat my Pok É Mon? The Pok É Mon of those black-clad people are all poisonous, and they are still in a poisoned state." The older trainer took the initiative to talk to Qiao Yihang. Poisonous Pok É Mon. Qiao Yihang's expression was a bit strange. Isn't it that his Kodora was naturally restrained? When a poison Pok É Mon encounters a steel Pok É Mon, it's like a grandson meets a grandpa. But at least he is also a member of the Joey family now. Without much thought, he said, "Of course, everyone, give me the Pok É Mon ball." In no time, Qiao Yihang held a bunch of Pok É Mon balls in his arms. So many elves, I don't know how many more things can be collected. Qiao Yihang's face remained as usual, but deep down he was somewhat happy. When he worked as his mother's assistant at the elf center before, because his mother was a very responsible person, he hardly had much work to do when he was not too busy. The benefits of temporarily taking care of the elf center for my cousin in Ziyuan town this time are almost comparable to those of working as an assistant in those years. Can Qiao Yihang not be happy? Mr. Joey, let's go out and see what happened first. The group of three, Xiaoji, was kind-hearted and rushed out in indignation when they heard that someone in black had caused damage. Just about to take action to stop them, Qiao Yihang failed because he was holding a bunch of Pok É Mon balls in his arms. He shook his head and let out a sigh in silence, saying, "These three guys above me, if the rockets could handle you three, they would have been eliminated by the Elf Alliance long ago." In the world of Pok É Mon, there are almost one or two impressive villainous organizations in various regions. But the most impressive villainous organization for Qiao Yihang is none other than the Rockets. Especially the leader of the Rockets, Sakaki. This person gives Qiao Yihang the feeling of being a daring mastermind behind the scenes, from the initial members of the Rocket team infiltrating the Elf Alliance, and a group of Taoist museum owners joining the Rocket team, to later creating a super dream with attributes that can be compared to divine beasts. Every move and action perfectly fits the image of the behind-the-scenes boss. Especially Sakaki's personal strength, even an average king may not be his opponent. Nowadays, Qiao Yihang believes that there is not much chance of winning if he encounters Sakaki, as he only has one Kedora in his hands and Sakaki has many powerful Pok É Mon under his command. If it really starts fighting, even if Kedora's stamina is abundant, he will be defeated alive by Sakaki in his several elf chariot battles. Kedora, let's first help everyone treat the Pok É Mon, and then go and see how powerful those black-clad people are, even leaving a group of trainers exhausted. Kuala la Kuala. Kedora's interest doesn't seem to be high. In his life, eating is the happiest thing, and as for fighting, it's just floating clouds. You guy, when my cousin comes back, I'll take you to the neighboring metal smelter to have a good enough meal. Qiao Yihang sighed, but Dora is good everywhere. His evolved boss Kodora is also quite powerful among Pok É Mon. It's not good at all. Because Kodora, and Boss Kodora, these three Pok É Mon are different from other Pok É Mon when they are hungry. Other Pok É Mon may just need some fruit or other food, but these three need to eat metal. That is to say, cultivating a Kodora until it evolves into a Boss Kodora requires a large amount of metal consumption in the process. Ordinary families may not be able to afford it. Only a large family like the Joey family, like the Yulong and Junsha families, can afford to support them. After working hard for a while, we finally finished healing the trainers' elves. The attacks of poison Pok É Mon do not necessarily all contain toxins. Most trainers' Pok É Mon are simply knocked down by violence, and only a very small number of people's Pok É Mon have been attacked by toxins. That is to say, a group of people shouting that their elves were defeated because the black-clothed people used poisonous Pok É Mon, probably just to show off their abilities. Admitting that one's strength is not as good as that of an unknown trainer is not something that everyone can achieve. Qiao Yihang looked at the medical report with a hint of interest in the corner of his eyes. Are the members of the Rocket team really that strong? With hard power, they can crush so many trainers. After patting Kedora's head, Qiao Yihang said excitedly, "Kedora, let's go and test your strength." 008 Mr. Joey's Kedora. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Kedora's blue eyes were full of vitality. It's not that I'm excited about the upcoming battle, it's purely because I heard my owner say there will be a lot of metal to eat after this one. Kedora, who lives in the wild, loves to eat iron ore because there are no conditions. Like Qiao Yihang's Kedora, he may not even be willing to touch the iron ore he is eating now. The taste is poor, not to mention, there are still many impurities. Qiao. 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 Qiao Yihang glanced at his partner, but Dora's condition was clearly good. You guy, as long as you mention food, you don't feel confused at all. Helplessly shaking his head, Qiao Yihang doted on Kedora to the extreme. After all, it was his first Pok É Mon, and no matter how powerful the Pok É Mon may be in the future, their emotions would definitely not match those between him and Kodora. When Qiao Yihang arrived at the place where the trainers were talking about, the scene was already in a melee. There were several magical treasures lying in front of Xiaoji, and Qiao Yihang recognized them from a long distance. The first three famous imperial families. Little Fire Dragon, Bulbasaur Seed, and Johnny Turtle. Their condition doesn't seem very good, one by one they are injured and lying on the ground. Judging from the situation, they should not be able to fight together anymore. As a member of the Joey family, Qiao Yihang naturally has a good eye for this aspect. Is all that's left in Xiaoji's head is hot blood? Qiao Yihang was somewhat speechless. The battle between Pok É Mon also depends on the strength difference. A group of Pok É Mon with little combat experience and the Rocket Team's group of Pok É Mon who have experienced countless battles are fighting, isn't that seeking death? Now I have looked at it and it seems that I am really seeking death, and I have also died a lot. Xiaoxia's duck and Xiaojiang's fist stones are all lying dead on the ground. To Qiao Yihang's surprise, there was actually a Katy dog lying on the ground. The owner of the Katy dog is a young woman dressed in sheriff's attire. The young woman stood in front of the severely injured Katy dog, resisting the attacks of several Pok É Mon. However, even with the average superhuman physique in Pok É Mon world, it is still difficult to withstand Pok É Mon's attacks. In no time, the young woman was knocked out by several big-nosed bats and lay on the ground with her Katy dog. Miss Junsha, are you okay? Xiao Gang, who has always been fond of courting beautiful women, shouted from the side that the trio of Xiaoji now only has Pikachu and Little Fist Stone left with the power to fight. Pikachu is an electrical Pok É Mon, while the Little Fist Stone has a rock attribute, giving it an advantage over a group of big-billed bats in terms of attributes. Of course, now it seems that they only have an advantage in attributes. Faced with a large number of big-mouthed bats, Pikachu and Little Fist Stone's stamina began to gradually decline. Because of this, even if Xiaojiang wanted to come and help Junsha, he couldn't do it. Yes, the young woman dressed in sheriff's attire is the Junsha family that competes with the Joey family in the Pok É Mon world. There is almost always a Miss Junsha among the public security officers in various places, and their strength is equally strong and weak. The Joey and Junsa families have always helped each other. Seeing Miss Junsha being knocked down, Qiao Yihang naturally couldn't stand idly by. Since he was born into the Joey family and enjoyed the benefits provided by the Joey family, he himself also had to fulfill some of his responsibilities. Kedora, go and shield Miss Junsha from the venomous attack of the big-nosed bat. Qiao. Pull. After hearing Qiao Yihang's command, Kedora quickly rushed towards the direction of the fallen Miss Junsha. Just in front of Junsha, several black-clad men were commanding the big-mouthed bat to make the final attack. Big-mouthed bat, use venomous teeth to kill this woman and that Katy dog. A group of big-nosed bats rushed frantically towards Miss Junsa and Katy after hearing the orders of their respective masters. On the other side, the trio of Xiaoji, entangled by a group of people in black, saw Miss Junsha who was about to be attacked and became anxious one by one. At the critical moment, a silver-white light suddenly appeared in front of Miss Junsa. The sharp teeth of several big-nosed bats fiercely bit the silver light. Bang bang. Bang bang. Bang bang, a few crisp sounds. Those big-nosed bats retreated one after another, looking at their appearance. Just now, they were not attackers, but victims. And that silver-white light, also known as Kedora, had a hint of curiosity in his blue eyes. He looked at several large-mouthed bats retreating from Empress Tsang and shouted, "Koala koala," as if asking what the big-mouthed bats were doing. "That's Mr. Joey's Kedora." Xiaoxia in the trio looked at Kedora, who was blocking several big-nosed bats, and exclaimed in surprise. 009, is this a foul? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xiaoxia's exclamation made Xiao Jiang, who was careful about Miss Junsha being attacked, take a long breath. While directing Pikachu to avoid the attack of the big-nosed bat, Xiao Ji spoke up and said, "Mr. Joey's Kedora has arrived. Mr. Joey should also be nearby, right?" It didn't meet his expectations. Not long after, Qiao Yihang's figure slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Xiao Ji exclaimed excitedly, "Mr. Joey! Hurry up and defeat these guys. They are the bad guys who want to steal everyone's Pok É Mon. Snatching everyone's Pok É Mon." Qiao Yihang, who had just rushed over, looked at the group of black-clad men commanding the attack of the big-nosed bat. The prominent art-shaped logo made it clear at a glance. They are the Rockets. It is not uncommon for the Rockets to capture the Pok É Mon of trainers, as sacrifices are inevitable in the process of creating super dreams. During this process, countless Pok É Mon died due to being studied. At the thought of this, Qiao Yihang's gaze became slightly cold and clear. He doesn't like this approach. Perhaps Pok É Mon are not in an equal state with humans in this world, but it is not humans who arbitrarily determine their life or death. Even if you want to die, you should die in battle, not in inexplicable research. Although I admire your boss, I'm sorry, I really dislike your behavior. Capturing the Pok É Mon of trainers is equivalent to taking away their families in front of others. This approach, when Qiao Yihang put himself in the shoes of others, he couldn't bear it at all. "Kedora, take down those big-mouthed bats." Qiao Yihang couldn't hear any joy or anger in his voice, he just gave an ordinary command. Subsequently, Kedora quickly rushed towards the group of big-mouthed bats, accompanied by Kedora's sprint. Countless fragments of rocks with a light blue glow suspended around his body. These rock fragments are like sharp nails, presenting a terrifying triangular shape. Watching Kodora rushing towards them, a group of rocket team members were immediately dumbfounded, and this move can be called a rock avalanche according to general terms. They have also seen powerful cadres within the organization use this tactic. But to be honest, shouldn't a rock avalanche be when a Pok É Mon is released and remains still in the air, then falls in patches? Although powerful, as long as the speed is fast enough, it can still be avoided. What kind of ghost is this rock avalanche of yours? How can you still run with Pok É Mon? This is a foul, right? Big-mouthed bats, use your wings to attack and stop him. Although the members of the rocket team didn't know what the silver Pok É Mon rushing towards them was, their reaction was not slow either. They immediately asked the big-mouthed bats to use their wings to attack and resist Kedora's attack. After hearing the orders of their trainers, several big-nosed bats disregarded the pain of having their teeth broken and quickly flapped their wings. Several whirlwinds appeared in front of these big-nosed bats. The big-mouthed bats stared at the approaching Kedora and coincidentally released their attacks. A small white whirlwind rushed towards Kedora, but she didn't look at her, just burying her head and charging forward. At this time, Xiao Ji and others were also in a fierce battle, and Pikachu and Xiao Chuancher's stamina was gradually becoming unsustainable. There were too many big-nosed bats besieging them. At this moment, Qiao Yihang quickly walked up to Miss Junsha and helped her up, while also introducing himself. "Hello, Miss Junsha from Ziyuan Town. My name is Qiao Yihang and I am currently a substitute nurse at the Ziyuan Town Pok É Mon Center." Junsha is still very familiar with Qiao Yihang, and upon hearing Qiao Yihang's introduction, she knew that he should be the only boy in the Joey family. After all, he is the only male in the Joey family. On the day he was born, Miss Joey from all over the world sent congratulatory messages. Miss Junsha, who was helped up by Qiao Yihang, blushed slightly. She had only heard before that the boy from Joey's family was very handsome. It was her first time seeing him, but she didn't expect him to be even more handsome than rumored. However, Miss Junsha is still a sheriff, and her gaze is still focused on Kodora in battle. When she saw several big-nosed bats using their wings to attack at the same time, she couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, saying, "Xiao Hang, please pull him." The Katy dog behind her looked at her owner with a hint of resentment and let out 2 sobs, as if accusing the owner of forgetting his friend after seeing him. Qiao Yihang glanced at the pitiful Katy dog with a smile on his lips. The Katy dog is a standard accessory of the Junsa family, and the evolved wind speed dog has strong combat power. Unfortunately, even in the Junsa family, not everyone can use the fire stone. That thing is too expensive, and those who can freely send fire stones are inevitably the wealthy among the wealthy. Qiao Yihang just smiled and said, "Miss Junsha, don't worry, but Dora can solve it. Let's take the Katy dog back to the Pok É Mon ball first. He's injured too seriously." Ah. Oh. Miss Junsha's face darkened a little, and she quickly retrieved the lying and sobbing Katy dog from the Pok É Mon ball. Looking back, Miss Junsa saw a scene that she might never forget in her lifetime.